Like the new song?
No, but you know.
You don't like Ace Trumpets?
What's so great about it?
It's so good.
To keep it a buck, I'm gonna go with Pusha T. So we're not gonna drink to that.
At all, ever. He's never been talked about like this ever in his life.
Now, has Nas
You did the last time he was in some like this where people were comparing is when him and
Jay-Z,
Jay was
I knew you
beating
were
on
gonna say
him.
that.
You heard? You did? Like that, and I don't want to talk about other people's career, but let's just get to the
Have you spoken
semantics
to
of
Nas
it.
since the whole thing?
Nas.
Okay.
I don't know Nas to have a conversation with him. You don't have a conversation, we can have that too much like that. You dig? Like I don't really care.
One thing I
about
did see you do, I've seen you do this in Say Less, I've seen you do this in the studio.
My son can't tell you one Nas record. You heard? Like let's keep it a buck here.
Yeah, but
like, let's
Jim Jones really woke up one morning and decided he was bold enough to pick fights with not one, not two, but three of the most legendary names hip-hop has ever known: Nas, Pusha T, and No Malice. And now, he's finding out the hard way that some battles are straight-up suicide missions. Everybody's glued to this train wreck, watching Jim crash and burn in real time because what he thought was some harmless smack talk just sparked one of the coldest comebacks the culture has seen in years.
The future is not something you wait for, it's something you build. It lives in the hands of the doers, the dreamers, the people who refuse to stand still. Resorts World is more than a casino. It's energy, it's opportunity, it's hope for the borough. A second chance for some, a first step for many. It's where community gathers, not just to win, but to build a future once imagined. This isn't just business, this is legacy. And now, it's time to invest in us.
That's when folks finally peeped what he had really done. The dude who popped off with a loose comment basically ended up breathing new life into clips like he summoned them from the grave. What started as Jim clowning Nas for supposedly not being relevant exploded into a full-blown lyrical war zone, so messy it even pulled up to Paris Fashion Week, with Pharrell, Beyonce, and Jay-Z sitting right there in the front row, witnessing the madness firsthand. You could practically feel Harlem freeze up when Jim started running his mouth. And the wildest part? Jim really had the nerve to say Pusha T's music never did anything for him, like he wasn't talking about one of the most respected spitters alive. Now he's finding himself getting turned into the opening act for Clips's big return, whether he likes it or not. When he opened his mouth and said, "This son, they know about Nah," people were stunned. Jim went straight for the throat, dragging Nas's entire legacy to the table, uninvited, acting like it wasn't even worth remembering.
I was coming home one day and talking with myself. I said, I'm just gonna live. Forget this guilty, feeling. Forget all this regret. Do what you want to do. Ain't nobody else tripping like you. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and party and do it up. And I literally tried to sear my conscience, like forget it. So when people say you found God, I did not find God. I was trying to party with the devil. Trust me, I was trying to go hard. God himself said, no, not you. He did not allow me to do it. And that's what I seen with my own eyes, whether anyone believes.
For the next generation to remember, the craziest part is that wasn't even the wildest thing Jim said that week. He didn't just drop that comment and keep it moving. Nope, he said it, laughed about it, then doubled and tripled down all over the place. He was running his mouth everywhere. The Breakfast Club, Bag Fuel, Nightcap with Shannon Sharp, and even random street interviews and live streams. At one point, he tried to clean up his mess by claiming he was just speaking the truth as a fan. But then he let something even wilder slip on Bag Fuel. He didn't just take shots at Nas, he flipped the whole story, acting like he was the reason Nas was suddenly trending again. According to Jim, nobody had been checking for Nas in years, not since the Ether days. Jim literally sat there on camera and said, "This viral at all, ever." He really said that with a straight face. The wildest thing is Jim never understood who he was up against. Nas isn't the type to jump online and bark back over petty drama. He's the type to quietly team up with billionaires, lock in deals with heavyweight developers, and show you exactly where real influence lives, without having to run his mouth. While Jim was out here clowning on every platform he could find, Nas was moving silent and building something way bigger than any diss track. He was laying down the foundation for what could become the biggest cultural landmark Queens has ever seen. And while Jim kept trying to spark imaginary beefs, Nas pulled off one of the coldest flexes in hip-hop history. He just hopped on Instagram and dropped an ad for a $5 billion Queens casino project. Like it was nothing. Time to invest in us. That wasn't just a business move. That was Nas sending a message loud and clear. I'm too rich for this nonsense. And if that had been the only fire Jim was playing with, maybe this whole saga would have cooled off right there. But nah, Jim had to take it even further. He decided to poke at Pusha T too. He straight up dragged him down, claiming Pusha wasn't even in the top 50. Like, seriously? What Jim didn't realize was that this time, it wasn't just Pusha tuning in. No Malice was listening real close. Now everybody's buzzing, wondering if Jim's reckless mouth just pulled clips back together off one sloppy hot take.
Can you sing along the 5 Pusha T records right now? His records.
Yes.
His records?
Yeah.
Name
I love
them.
Pusha. Nostalgia.
Oh, you was a Pusha T fan. He's
You
like,
know, you know.
I didn't know he had fans like
No.
that. Can you name 5 Pusha T records? No,
Dreaming of
his
the
records.
past.
Pusha T, I love your soul, my dog. You're not in my top 50. You might be in Charlemagne's top 50 and things like that.
Pusha
But
top 50.
you haven't done that much for me in my life. Like I didn't never want to be like Pusha. I never had a Pusha moment in my life. I never thought like you did. Like where I'm from, I just want to be like you if you was really that dude and that rapper and things
Wayne
like that.
wanted to
It's
be like Pusha.
Yeah.
He was influenced by Pusha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's why Pusha did the Mr. Me Too record.
Okay, cool. You a very strong Pusha T fan. You heard? But what else has he bring to the game? Did he make people want to dress like him? Did he have some slang that everybody was talking like him? There would be the girls, all the girls wanted to do him. Like what?
Let's rewind for a second because clips didn't pop up out of nowhere. They'd been laying low for almost 15 years. What nobody knew was that months before Jim even opened his mouth, Pusha had already dropped a quiet warning in Rolling Stone. He was trying to convince his brother to get back in the booth. He said, I'm like, yo, listen to what I just made. We can really do this. And no Malice just brushed him off. Pusha even admitted, if I had it my way, it would be the clips. It's really up to my brother. Well, Jim might have handed him the perfect excuse to light the fuse. The rumors about a Clips reunion started bubbling heavy during Something in the Water, Pharrell's big festival in Virginia Beach, where Clips surprised everybody by hitting the stage in 2022. And just a few months later, they popped up again at Complex Con, adding even more fuel to the whispers.
Make some noise for the Clips! After Genesis. Now hold on. DC! Make some noise for the Clips, y'all! It's all right.
At Chicago's Hyde Park Summerfest, the Clips brothers shared the stage again, tearing through classics from Lord Willin' and Hell Hath No Fury. No Malice looked fired up like he was ready to jump all the way back in. But it was what happened next that flipped the whole energy in the room. The Clips were spotted strutting down the Louis Vuitton runway in Paris, arm in arm with Pharrell, who had just taken over as creative director for LV's menswear line. Jay-Z and Beyoncé were chilling front row, soaking up the moment. And right in the middle of the show, a brand new Clips track started blasting through the speakers. No warning, no introduction. It was raw, it was sharp, and every single lyric had one clear target: Jim Jones. Pusha wasn't playing coy. He was staring dead at Jim with every bar. But this wasn't just another diss track dropped on the internet. It was pure poetry, unveiled at Paris Fashion Week in front of the most powerful names in the game, all while Pharrell stood behind the whole spectacle. It didn't take long for fans to start piecing it together. Was this Pharrell's quiet revenge? A master chess move planned from 55 headquarters to finally check Jim for all those years of shady comments and sideways glances? Maybe. Especially since Jim had been out here hyping Drake as the greatest of all time every chance he got, lining himself up right next to Pusha's biggest rival. He made sure everyone knew exactly where he stood in that Complex interview. Just like that, Clips was back. No press run, no big single rollout, just a straight-up revenge track, unleashed on one of the most legendary cultural stages on Earth. Jim probably thought he was just running his mouth for clout, but no Malice and Pusha. They were plotting their comeback right through him. So now everyone's asking the same question. Did Jim accidentally hand No Malice the coldest comeback moment in rap history? Or did he just write his own career's obituary without even realizing it?
I would say he's the greatest of all times. The relevancy that he keeps showing year after year, hit after hit, record after record. Any record that he has put out has seemed to go multiple platinum. Like that's never has happened before in this history. I mean, there's a few other people that do astronomical numbers like that, but he really in it, like, you know.
Because here's the wild part. Clips hasn't even dropped an album yet, and the shockwaves are already shaking up the industry. And you can't forget Pharrell, the man behind the entire play. He's not just Clips' producer, he's family. He's the one who shaped their sound, their style, and their legacy from day one. So when Jim sat up in interviews and called Clips irrelevant, when he mocked their whole catalog like it was nothing, he wasn't just clowning Pusha, he was disrespecting the entire Clips movement. Meanwhile, nobody, and I mean nobody, expected No Malice to pull up like this. Let's be real, for over 10 years, he was the quiet one. The older brother who stepped away from rap, found his faith, and chose peace over beef, while Pusha kept swinging in the trenches. No Malice had said over and over he was done with the game, that he had no plans to rap again. But Jim's big mouth might have been the one thing strong enough to drag him back into the spotlight.
Let's go! 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 Been 2 years like I was bang cruising. Business shows and guns capping and consuming. I was just assuming to keep it cool, but I got one.
So when No Malice's voice came blasting through the speakers at that Louis Vuitton show in Paris, it wasn't just surprising, it was straight up chilling. Now hold up, let's really break this down, because No Malice wasn't just tossing out random bars. These were layered shots, coded in sharp disses with precise targets. When he said, "Bird talk, we all parrots," that wasn't some throwaway line. He was clowning Bird Gang, taking a direct jab at Jim's whole brand, his crew, and everything he stands for. And when he dropped names like Paris and Dallas, that wasn't by accident. Those were the exact cities Jim had bragged about in his freestyle over the Chains and Whips beat just days earlier. No Malice wasn't just replying, he was paying close attention to every word Jim spit. That's not even the craziest part. Fans started noticing something deeper. No Malice wasn't just rapping again. He was rapping like he'd been sitting on this energy for years, waiting for the perfect chance to unload it. All of a sudden, his return didn't feel like some side note. It felt like a serious warning. He came back to check egos and remind everyone exactly who he is, and Jim basically handed him the green light. Jim tried to act unbothered at first. He even kicked off his little response campaign by posting a video of himself laughing at Pusha's Paris verse on Instagram. But when he showed up on Drink Champs and Noor brought up the Clips diss, the mask slipped for a second. Right there, you could see it. He felt it. Underneath all the jokes and tough talk, the cracks were showing. So Jim ran to the booth and dropped his Chains and Whips freestyle, a response over the same exact beat Clips had just used to torch him. And then came the BET Awards. Bootleg Kev pulled Jim aside for a quick interview, and Jim did what he always does, tried to act like nothing was getting to him.
Say, you know, Jim, I wasn't talking about you.
I mean, and I would be hurt. I would be heartbroken. I would be so upset. You heard?
When Kev asked about Clips' new single, Ace Trumpets, Jim didn't even blink. Jim tried to brush it all off, saying Clips was just riding old nostalgia and that their bars were mid at best. But the more he talked, the less he looked like a confident vet, and the more he looked like a rapper spiraling on camera. Because real talk, what do you do when the very people you tried to clown start getting stronger and leveling up in front of your eyes? You either double down or you get left in the dust. And Jim? He decided to double down hard. Just when you thought Jim couldn't possibly dig the hole any deeper, he showed up with another shovel. He slid right back onto Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and launched into a fresh rant. This time, he aimed his shots right back at Nas. Jim claimed Nas was never really influential at all. He said Nas always played second fiddle to Jay-Z and DMX, like that was some kind of casual observation. And then, with a straight face, he dropped the wildest line of the night. That's like saying Jordan fell off after Space Jam. Man, you could almost hear the collective gasp when he said it. It's straight up delusional. But while Jim was out here still chasing clout, Clips was busy running a master plan behind the scenes. The duo finally unleashed the full rollout for their long-awaited reunion album, Let God Sort 'Em Out. And if folks thought Chains and Whips was the pinnacle, they were in for a rude awakening, because that was just the warm-up. This album wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement of power. The features alone were legendary. The one and only Nas, Kendrick Lamar, Tyler the Creator, The Dream, John Legend, and of course, Pharrell steering the entire project as executive producer. But here's where it gets even messier. The album was originally set to drop under Def Jam. That is, until Def Jam allegedly tried to censor Kendrick's verse. A verse that, according to whispers, had some indirect shots aimed right at Drake, Travis Scott, and all the fake industry politics nobody wants to talk about. Clips didn't flinch. They walked away from the deal on the spot and took the entire project straight over to Roc Nation. That one move alone spoke volumes. Clips wasn't here to be some nostalgic act from the past. They were stepping in as power players ready to shake the whole culture. And Jim? He had the nerve to ask who Pusha even had riding with him. Well, Clips answered that question loud and clear, with the strongest lineup in the game standing shoulder to shoulder. It didn't happen overnight, but the shift was undeniable. Jim wasn't just getting dissed, he was getting left behind, not blackballed, but slowly and quietly benched while the rest of the culture moved forward without him. And for a man who built his whole brand on loyalty and loud talk, that creeping silence was worse than any diss track Clips could ever drop. So, when Clips finally unleashes that track with Nas, everybody already knows, it won't just be a diss, it's gonna be a funeral. Jim can keep rapping, keep trolling, and keep acting like this is all just some big joke. But while he's out here playing for clicks, real moves are happening behind the scenes. Big meetings are going down, major tours are getting locked in, visuals are being shot, and guess what? None of it includes him. So the question isn't, will Jim clap back with another freestyle? The real question is, will anybody even care if he does? He wanted to go viral so bad, but now he's standing alone, and he might have just canceled himself right out of hip-hop history without even realizing it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with your people, and I'll see you on the next one.